Hello and welcome. Happy autumn, wonderful patrons. Today we're going to do a supported backbend practice. So we're going to be looking at several different ways of doing backbends with support. As you know, I love backbending. If you do not love it, hopefully you will have a newfound appreciation for it after this practice. One of the things I love about backbending is that I find backbends to be very uplifting. And the great thing about working with support is that if you maybe don't have the energy to do really vigorous backbending, doing with support is a wonderful way to get the benefits from backbend and to restore your energy and also get that great sense of upliftment with relaxation. This is a fairly prop heavy class. So obviously, as always, just do your best with what you've got. I am going to use a chair, a few blankets, and a couple of bolsters and a couple of blocks as well. So let's start off with a bolster horizontal ways. I've stacked an additional blanket on top of it, and we're going to do a horizontal bolster back bending Supta Swastikasana. So I have my shins crossed. I have my butt a few inches away from the bolster, and then we're going to arc back over that bolster. So I've added a blanket on top of my bolster because I like to get a fairly strong back bend. If this feels like too much for you, then you can always remove a blanket. And my head, the top of my head is resting on the floor. If that is not the case for you, that's totally fine for the head to hang back. But again, you can always adjust the height of the support. So buttocks is down, we're arcing over that bolster, shins are crossed in Supta Swastikasana. And then you can work with different arm variations here. So I am holding my forearms near the elbow and letting those arms drape back. That feels good to me. You can also just reach the arms overhead, palms up, palms facing, or find other arm variations that feel good on your head, neck, shoulders, and upper chest area. Go for smooth, soft breaths in out the nose. You can stay here for a couple minutes on each side. For the sake of the recording, I may keep the holds a little bit on the shorter side, but with any of these poses, if you're in a good place, if you're breathing well, if it feels like a breathable pose, a sustainable pose, you of course are welcome to stay longer. And one thing that we do want to look for here is that the back of the neck is not shortened. So the back of the neck is, the head's going back. There is a little arch to the back of the neck, but we don't want to feel like it's being shortened or tightened or like the breath is not ebbing and flowing easily. If that's the case, then you may want to take a support behind your head just so that that head can have a little bit more support. We'll stay here for a few more breath cycles. Notice the sensations in your middle upper back, your chest. Let the abdomen be soft. Let the abdomen be the recipient. So don't try to do this with your abdomen. Let those abdominal muscles stretch and spread and lengthen. There will be a little toning and lengthening to the abdomen here. All right, let's go ahead and change the cross of the legs. You can just stay back there with minimal disturbance. Simply change the cross of the legs. You can change the cross of the arms as well. And then again, inhale, exhale, take those arms overhead. Let that breath come in smooth and soft. Allow that inhale to gently expand and fill the upper chest. And let that inhale naturally convert over to the exhale. No need to push the air out. That exhale will happen when it's time. And a little bit longer here, maybe another minute or 2 or 3 if you like. So we want to feel an ease of breathing, a breathability here. You don't want to feel like you are having to hold on for dear life. I'm going to go ahead and extend my arms out with the palms up, elbows straight. When you look at my elbows, if you happen to look at my elbows in the recording, it may look like my arms are a little bit bent because of my carrying angle, but they are straight. And then palms up. You can also experiment with palms facing each other. See that you keep a softness, a pliability, a breathability around the bottom rib, diaphragm area, and that you're not gripping the abdomen or gripping the jaw. So jaw, throat, belly soft. Let that breath ebb and flow just a little bit longer here, a few more breath cycles. All right, exhale. On the next inhale, use your hands, press into that bolster, lift your chest to sit up. Keep that chest nice and open. You may wish to straighten those legs out for a moment as they have been bent for a while. Let the backs of those knees open out. And then we're going to go into brick Paryankasana. So we can put the bolster and the extra blanket here off to the side. Now the blanket rather for the shins is optional. You don't need to have a blanket for your shins, but it can be quite nice on the shins and the knees just to have that little bit of extra padding. And then we'll take a block. Let's do it wide ways, tall height. This is for the upper back, middle upper back, and then a block on the same height for the head. And then come into Virasana. So Virasana is knees together, feet apart. If you are unable to sit this way with your the condition of your knees or your hips, you can always do this same pose with the shins crossed, and you can always lower the blocks as well. So I'm working on the high height, but you obviously, if this is not appropriate for your body, you can always make the height of the blocks lower. And then let's have one block for the head, one block for the upper back region, supporting you behind the shoulder blades. Make sure those shoulders roll down. You may need to sort of tuck those shoulder blades into the back, roll those arms from inside out, and then have the arms below shoulder height, palms facing up. Let your buttocks settle down. So this is a Paryankasana pose. So the roots of the thighs and the buttocks are low. They are dropping to the floor. And then that upper back is lifting up into a back arch. And again, you don't need to do anything with your abdomen in this pose. Just let that belly be. Let the breath be smooth and soft. And let yourself just drape over these blocks. So again, one of the great things about supported back bends is that I find, at least, you get this sense of upliftment, of expansion, of awakeness, but there's also a relaxed quality, a soothing quality, and you can stay here for a while. So poses with this sort of supported back bend quality are often given in instances of grief. They can be helpful for when the mood is low, the energy is low, because you're not exhausting yourself with a heavy practice, but then at the same time, you're getting the sense of openness around the heart and upliftment. And keep the face soft. Just go for smooth, soft breaths in and out the nose. You can notice what's the overall feeling, body-wise, breath-wise, of being in this posture. A little bit longer here. With the exhale, can you soften those places where you're holding on unnecessarily, places of hardness, tension, rigidity? Can you soften and let go? And then exhale. On the next inhale, press down on the floor with your hands, lift your chest, sit on up. And then let's straighten those legs out. This time I'm going to sit with those legs in Upavishta Konasana. If you prefer to sit in Dandasana, that's fine. But let's do something to get these legs extended nice and straight since we are sitting with bent legs for quite a while. I'm being a little cautious here. I did a lot of inner thigh strengthening the other day, so my right leg here is a little bit sore. So I'm just going to sit with those legs nice and straight here for a moment. Okay, carefully come on up. Let's move into Dvipada Viparita Dandasana on the chair. So this is a two-footed inverted staff pose. And there are many ways to practice this pose. What I'd like to do today is to have simply one chair, one sticky mat, one blanket. And then if you are on the, let's say, shorter side, or perhaps have a little bit of a less flexible spine, you may want to have your feet on a bolster as well. So you could put the bolster or a couple of blocks over at the wall. If you don't need it, then you don't need to use it. And then I am putting just one blanket on top of my sticky mat as well. I like that this just gives me a little additional height and support in the pose. Again, not required, but you can try that out and see how that works for you. Carefully step into the chair, one leg at a time. Now, you don't have to be at the wall for this. I'm going to go ahead and try to keep my feet at the wall, though. Sit well into the chair, so you're hooking your sacrum on the back of the chair. Go ahead and lie back onto the chair, starting with the tops of your shoulders just draping off. Knees are bent, elbows are bent. You can press the heels of your hands, the heels of the thumbs or that thumb mound into the chair, and then slowly start to ooze out of the chair. Pause with just those upper shoulder blades hooked on the chair. Knees are still bent. Belly is soft. Inner legs are relaxed. Keep the legs about hip width apart, legs and feet parallel. And just let yourself acclimate to this position. If you don't back bend often, just staying here may be a wonderful place to be. So there's something to be gained every step of the way. Notice the quality of the breath. Notice how it feels to have the head going back below the heart. For those with neck issues, you may want to have a head support when we back bend. So there are different ways of doing that. The main thing you want to do is just make sure that your neck isn't being jammed if you do use a head support. So like a block or a bolster can be helpful if you do have neck issues. Just make sure your neck isn't being jammed or shortened. And then let's slide out a little bit further. Now let's keep the bottom shoulder blades hooked on the seat of the chair. Elbows bent, loosely hold that triangle of the chair, so where the legs meet the headrest. And then one leg at a time, press your foot into the wall and straighten the legs. And try to have as much of your feet touching the wall as possible. So if you can even keep your heels into the wall, there's a wonderful connection through the legs that can be found. Extend through those legs. Extend from the top of the quadricep to the knee. And then notice what happens in your upper body. Notice the length that you get in the abdominal area, the opening in the chest. As you really extend through the legs, what happens in the upper body? And let your head and neck just drop. Let go of the tension in the head and neck. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself be. Dare I say, let yourself enjoy this pose. Now you can also take one arm at a time underneath the seat of the chair and grab hold of the back legs of the chair and give those back legs a little tug. And then again, extend through those legs. Reach those heels away from your head. Extend from the top of the quadricep to the knee. Flatten out those front thigh muscles. Jaw soft. Let that breath ebb and flow. I could stay here a long, long time, but we'll come out soon. If you feel like you could stay here a long, long time, go ahead. But just make sure you can breathe well in this pose. Sometimes people get dizzy in back bends because they're not used to doing them and they're holding their breath. So the main thing is you want to make sure you can breathe well. We don't want dizziness when you come out. All right, let's go ahead and bend the legs one at a time. Use your hands, grab hold of the backrest of the chair, press your elbows into the seat of the chair, take your back body to your front body and lift your chest to sit up. Now just give yourself a moment here. You know, even if you are well practiced, sometimes you might get a little bit of dizziness just with the blood pressure circulation changes. So just give yourself a moment. And then carefully step out of the chair. Okay, now we are going to take a bolster sideways, horizontal ways on the chair, and we're going to do a variation of Urdhva Dhanurasana. So Urdhva Dhanurasana, unlike Dvipada Viparita Dandasana, asks that we keep our legs bent, unless you're doing Urdhva Dhanurasana 2, which we're not doing. Take a bolster horizontal ways, carefully step through the chair, one leg at a time, keep your knees bent, put your pelvis up on that bolster and then arc over that bolster. Keep the knees bent, feet on the floor. Now, if you are of a shorter stature, you may need to put something underneath your feet. So you may need to put your whole chair set up on a sticky mat and then put blocks underneath your feet. So nothing wrong with that. But if that's what you would benefit from, go ahead and get that set up. All right, now the arms. I'm going to start by taking my arms just underneath the bolster and then loosely holding the back legs of the chair. Again, just let that head release back, neck soft, jaw soft. And then you can also work with Urdhvanurasana arms here. So you can reach those arms overhead. We can start with the arms extended straight, palms up. Notice what happens in your abdominal area when you do this. And then you can bend those elbows, place your palms on the floor as if you're going to press up an Urdhvanurasana. And if you're quite confident here, you can even press into those hands and feet and actually lift your pelvis off the bolster and come into Urdhvanurasana. For me, I'm just lifting a few inches up off that bolster. I don't have far to go to come up in the pose because the pose setup is already quite high, but just so you know, that's an option. We'll stay here a little bit longer. Can you soften into this pose? Relax the jaw, let that breath ebb and flow. Outer thighs up, inner legs soft. Elbows in, don't let the elbows splay here. Just a couple more breath cycles. All right, now keep breathing. Grab hold of that back rest of the chair. Use the arms as support. Lift your chest, take the back body to the front body, and then go ahead and sit up straight and tall and give yourself just a moment sitting up straight and tall here in this simple seated pose. Make sure any dizziness or lightheadedness subsides. And then carefully step out of the chair one leg at a time. And we're going to take our setup to the wall for a little bit of more active back bending. So if this part is not for you, obviously you can skip it and go back and repeat any of the other back bend variations we've done, or you could do another variation or other supine poses that are conducive to you. But otherwise, let's go and take that chair set up maybe a couple feet from the wall. I like to work with a sticky mat on the backrest of the chair. And then sit with your heels on the front legs of the chair, toe mounds down. Word to the wise here, feet are not going to change. So this foot position stays steady. Arc over that backrest of the chair. Keep those feet stable, feet as they are. Hook the arms around that backrest of the chair. Lift the chest. Lift your butt off the chair. And then back bend over the chair. Take your hands to the wall. Now, I obviously am too close to the wall. It's not the end of the world, but my elbows are very bent right now. So I'm quite close to the wall. So I'm going to come out and position myself in such a way that I can first straighten my arms to the wall. It's not wrong to work with bent elbows, but in Urdhvanurasana, we have straight elbows. So let's see if we can get those arms straight. No, I'm too far away. It's okay though. I can at least press my fingertips in the wall and get those arms straight. So careful not to let the knees splay out here or the elbows splay out. At the same time, don't grip your inner thighs and use that backrest of the chair to take your upper back in. So we're working with that firmness of the backrest of the chair to encourage that upper back to come in. And then go ahead and lower the buttocks. Let's take that chair back a few inches, and then you can start to walk those hands down the wall if that is appropriate for your body. So I'm hooking my shoulder blades on the seat of the chair. I hook my arms around the chair. I lift my butt up. I grip at the base of the buttocks, tailbone into the body. Take those arms overhead, and then you can walk those hands down the wall any amount. Elbows are straight. Don't shorten the back of your neck. Just let the head and neck be natural. Let the head and neck just hang and be soft. And let's go ahead and come on down and do, I would say, 1 to 3 more of these. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to move it a little bit closer to the wall, and I'm going to continue to walk my hands down the wall. So again, hook those shoulder blades on the chair. Heels are on the front legs of the chair. Draw that buttocks in, draw that tailbone in, reach those arms overhead. Let the hands slide down the wall. And then notice with that firmness of the backrest of the chair, how that really helps to break up the stiffness in that upper back region. So we want more of our back bends to come from the upper back. Can you work with that chair to take those upper back vertebrae into the body? I think it's a wonderful feeling. Personally, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying. And then let's go ahead and come on out. Okay, we'll do one more variation here with the chair. So now we'll take the chair and have the chair seat and the legs of the chair at the wall. And then you're going to step a little bit away from that chair. And it's almost like you're kind of slouching down or you're sitting down. Just careful with the balance here, that chair doesn't go sliding out from under you. But if you push it up against the wall, it shouldn't. Again, you're going to hook those shoulder blades upper back on the wall and then arc over that chair. Take your hands to the seat of the chair. And then from here, be steady in those legs. See that there's weight in your legs. Press into your heels. Walk your hands up the wall. And then can you press into the wall, tighten the glutes, tailbone in, and then stand up. Now, we never want to twist when we're standing up. So we press into the wall. We're solid in the legs. And then we stand up without twisting. I'm going to do that one more time. Again, you are welcome to repeat more times if you wish. So again, you hook those shoulder blades on the chair. Legs are like Urdhva Take the hands to the back seat of the chair. Perhaps walk those feet in. Be heavy in the heels. Press into those feet. Draw the tailbone in. Work the glutes, tighten the glutes. And then take your hands to the wall. Press into the wall. Outer shins forward. Lift your back body to front body to stand up. All right. Let's move on and do a little front thigh opening. And then we're going to do another back bend over a couple of bolsters. So let's take one sticky mat and put it down on the floor. So we're going to work with the length in the front thighs, which is very important, especially for some of the deeper, those really deeper back bends like Ekapada Raja Kapotasana and such, Kapotasana as well. So you're taking that chair face down or under belly up and just give it a press and make sure it's not going to move or slip away on you. Then take a second sticky mat and put it on the seat of the chair. And then you are going to take a blanket and put it over the back bar of the chair. This pose is one-legged Bakasana. If you have knee issues, you may want to skip this one or just be cautious. So take one knee down into the seat of the chair, that lip of the chair. The ankle hooks over that back bar of the chair. The front leg is knee bent. You're forming a 90-degree angle with that front leg, so the shin is perpendicular to the floor. And then your bent leg heel, or sorry, that back leg heel is just kind of on the middle outer buttock of its own butt cheek there. Now, don't let that belly spill forward. So lift up, press into that front leg, lift up on that lower belly. Can you balance the hips, shoulders back? So some of you will recognize this as an Ekapada Bakasana leg pose, which is a prone back bend where you take the legs and bend them up and the heels are near the buttocks. So we can use the back legs of the chair also to draw those shoulders back. We'll just be here a little bit longer. You can also tilt that chair, step that leg out, take your weight forward a little bit, and you'll access a spot a little further up the thigh. Shoulders back here as well. And then go ahead and put that down, and then we'll change sides. So carefully place one leg so that your knee is in that bottom lip of the chair, that seat of the chair. The other leg, we want to go for the shin being perpendicular to the floor, and then top buttock down, belly up, lower abdomen up. So especially those of us who are quite bendy, we have to try to work against tilting that pelvis forward into an anterior tilt. We want to try to get nice and tall in that low belly, long in the low back, and then hands to the legs of the chair, roll the shoulders back. And chin up, eyes up, breathe, feel, maybe even enjoy. And then you can tilt forward slightly, bring that chair with you, maybe walk that front leg out, get a little opening, perhaps further up the thighs. All right, and then come on out. Carefully step out. Now you can absolutely repeat that setup a couple times, a few times on each side. I'm just going to stand up in Tadasana for a moment to let my legs straighten out. So especially if you do have sensitive knees, after doing a bent-legged pose, it's a good idea to do a straight-legged pose. Okay, let's put these, we'll put the chair off to the side, have two bolsters, or if you only have one bolster, you can fold up some extra blankets, or you can probably even do this pose with one bolster, but have two bolsters if possible, and then also maybe 2 to 3 blankets. So we're taking a supported back bend that is sort of like a, I would say kind of like a Paryankasana, maybe could even be a preparation for Kapotasana. So you're crossing one bolster over another. The bottom bolster is vertical, the top bolster is horizontal. And then take a folded blanket or two. This may take a little experimenting, and put it over that top bolster. So I'm taking a blanket shoulder stand size, folded in half, and then I'm just kind of stair step stacking one over the other. Now we'll start with the legs in Virasana. So knees together, feet apart. And we'll start with that buttocks on that front bolster. And then we'll arc over. So you can see how it's like a Paryankasana shape, couch pose shape. So again, different arm variations. You can hold your elbows. You can reach those arms overhead. You know, maybe try a few different arm variations. Notice the effects, the feeling of each. Soften the jaw, let that breath ebb and flow. Give yourself time to receive the pose. Few more breath cycles here. Again, you're welcome to try different arm variations. You can do arms extended, palms up, palms facing. You can hold the elbows. And then let's sit up. Now, rather than having the buttocks sort of down low, we're going to try to get a little bit more opening in the front thighs. So I'm going to scoop my blankets a little bit more towards the buttock side, and I'm going to try to hook my buttocks more kind of on the, sort of on the slope of the bolsters. So a little bit more butt up on the bolsters. Now you may need to build up more height here behind your back so that your whole back is supported. So you don't want to feel like your back is arching away from the supports. So you just build up that height, and you can certainly stagger those blankets. And then again, we'll come into the same pose. Now, if this leg position isn't working for your knees, you can take this with different leg positions. So you can even do feet together, knees apart, like Baddha Konasana legs, or experiment with even knees bent, feet flat on the floor. So there are different leg options if you still want to work with the setup for your upper body. And take those arms overhead. Yeah, and just give yourself some time to be here. If you feel like you're taking this a lot in your low back, you may want to try just adding on more blankets so that you keep the pose a little more extended, taller, longer. But can you settle in? Can you have it be a breathable, sustainable pose? And if not, what do you need to make that happen? Do you need to take more blankets? Do you need to perhaps change the leg position? You could also take a block to rest your arms on. So you could take a block. I think I can get one within reach here. You could take a block overhead, And then fold the arms and rest those forearms on the block. So this is an option as well. And let that breath just come into the chest. Can you stay in this pose, remain in this pose with smooth, soft, easy breathing? And if the answer is no, then likely something about the pose needs to change. So we want to feel like the face is cool, the brain is cool, the breath is smooth and soft here. All right, you of course are welcome to remain longer. However, if you feel like you are cooked there, use your hands as support, sit on up. Let's just sit on the end of the bolster here and straighten those legs out. And then the last pose we are going to do in this back bend series is an unsupported Urdhva So just Urdhva in the middle of the room. If that's not for you, you can of course do over the seat of the chair, the backrest of the chair, or you can take partial support. You could take hands at the wall, hands on blocks. So there are many, many ways, of course, of doing every pose. But, it can be kind of an interesting experiment after doing a lot of supported poses to simply try doing the unsupported variation and see how that lands in your body. So I'm going to simply clear my mat off and then lie down with the knees bent, the feet flat on the floor. So feet are hip width. Get those heels close into the buttocks. Take the arms overhead. Press the feet into the floor. Press into your palms. Lift your hips up. Be solid in those legs. Connect through the legs. Press into the heels. Draw those hamstrings into the buttocks. And then lift your hips. Come onto the top of your head. Press into your hands and feet. Straighten the elbows. Keep the legs bent. And come into your Urdhva. Just take stock. See where your pose is today. Now, of course, you could do several Urdhva. This is feeling like, oh, wow, what freedom. I want to dig into this. Or maybe you just do one as a little experiment. When it's time to come out, bend your elbows, tuck your chin in, carefully lower down. Take a couple recovery breaths, and then you can either be done and take a downward dog, or maybe you want to do a couple more. I'm going to do just one more today. So the emphasis of my practice was not on doing deep back bends or rigorous back bending. It really was on more supported back bends. So I'm just going to do a couple. They are feeling good though after all that supported work. And then bend the elbows, tuck the chin into the chest, come down, just rest there for a moment, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Okay, go ahead and roll over to your side. You may wish to take a downward dog right after that pose. Another pose that can be very good is to take a supported variation of Uttanasana. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have a spot at the wall. I'm taking a chair, and I'm taking that chair with the underbelly pointing away from me. My feet are wide apart, almost mat's width apart. And then I take that top of the chair up into the roots of the thighs, the kind of hip crease, lean my butt back onto the wall, step the feet forward, and then extend forward into this nice, soft, supported Uttanasana. I like this because it allows my spinal muscles to spread, and I also find it quite soothing after back bends. Relax your belly, your jaw, your head. Let that upper body drape down. You can be here about a minute. You may find that the longer you stay, the more length and release you get through your back. You might even be able to touch your hands to the floor. Just let that head drop down.
All right.
And then with straight legs, carefully come up. And we are going to end this practice by simply taking the feet up the wall. Have a strap, a belt, if you've got one. Two belts came down. And then you're going to lie down with the feet just slightly apart, somewhere in between like a Dandasana and an Upavishta Konasana. And then you're going to belt the legs. If you'd like something a little bit soft for your head, you can have just a thin blanket for your head. And then again, we'll lie down. We'll take the buttocks to the wall. Legs up the wall. Thin support underneath the head if needed. And separate those feet just a little wider than hip width. And then you're going to use that belt just to maintain that distance for the legs so you don't have to hold your legs hard to keep them up there. So butt right up into the wall, legs a little wider than hip width. That belt just holds the feet. Roll those shoulders down. Relax the jaw and the belly. And then you can stay here as long as you'd like. After you've remained in this pose for a few minutes, you can take a nice Shavasana. And then you'll be done with this practice.